Before you sleep, let me tell you about a hospital where the mothers knew something the doctors did not. They knew which ward would kill them. And they begged, on their knees, not to be taken there. It is the 1840s in Vienna, in the largest maternity hospital in the world, a place built for mercy. Poor women came there to have their children in safety, attended by the finest doctors in Europe, and all of it for free. And in one half of that hospital, those women were dying in numbers that should have stopped the whole city cold. The hospital had two maternity clinics, side by side. They took women in on alternating days, almost at random. The first clinic was run by doctors and their medical students. The second was run by midwives. Same building, same beds, the same kind of women, sorted by nothing more than the day of the week they happened to arrive. And in the first clinic, the doctor's clinic, mothers died of childbed fever at nearly 3 times the rate of the one next door. In a bad month, almost 1 woman in 5 who walked in to have her baby was carried out dead. The women knew. Of course they knew. Word travels in a place like that. They learned which days were the doctor's days, and they did everything they could to avoid them. They begged to be admitted to the midwife's side. Some of them, when they felt their time coming, would give birth in the street on the way in, on purpose, because a child born on the cobblestones and carried in afterward was counted as a street birth, and a street birth went to the safer ward. Women were choosing the gutter over the doctors. And the terrible thing, the thing that should have woken someone, was that the gutter was safer. Childbed fever, they called it. Puerperal fever. A few days after a healthy delivery, a new mother would spike a fever, and her belly would swell and harden, and within days she would be gone, leaving a newborn behind. It had haunted maternity wards for as long as there had been maternity wards. And no one knew why. There were theories. There are always theories. They blamed bad air, the miasma that medicine blamed for everything in those years. They blamed overcrowding, though the deadlier clinic was often the emptier one. They blamed the women themselves. One official explanation was that a priest, coming to give last rites to the dying, walked through the first clinic ringing a small bell, and that the sound of it so frightened the other mothers that it brought the fever on. They actually changed the priest's route to spare the women the sight of him. The women kept dying. There was a young doctor on the first clinic named Ignaz Semmelweis, and he could not let it go. He was not a charming man by most accounts. He was blunt and stubborn, and he took the deaths personally, the way you do when you have stood in the room and watched it happen. He looked at that gap between the two clinics, the doctors killing 3 times as many as the midwives, and he knew, the way you know a wrong note in a song, that the answer was somewhere inside it. He just could not hear it yet. Then a friend of his died. His name was Jakob Kolechka, a professor at the hospital. During an autopsy, a student's knife slipped and nicked Kolechka's finger. A small thing, the kind of cut you would not think twice about. But within days, Kolechka was dead. And when Semmelweis read the account of what had killed his friend, the fever, the swelling, the same rot spreading through the body, he went cold. Because it was, in every detail, the same disease that was killing the mothers. The exact same disease, in a man who had never been pregnant in his life. All it had taken was a cut, and something from a dead body getting inside him. And there it was, the wrong note, finally heard. The doctors and their students did one thing the midwives never did. They performed autopsies. They spent their mornings in the dissecting room with their hands deep in the dead, often examining the very women who had died of childbed fever the day before. And then, with those same hands, rinsed in nothing more than a quick pass through cold water. They walked upstairs and reached inside the living mothers to examine them. They were carrying death on their hands, from the corpses to the cradles, and calling it care. The midwives next door never touched the dead. That was the whole of it. That was the 3 times difference. It was the doctors. It had always been the doctors. Semmelweis did the only thing the horror left him to do. He made them wash. He set a basin of chlorinated lime solution at the door of the ward, and he ordered every doctor and every student to scrub their hands in it until the smell of the dead room was gone, before they touched a single mother. And the dying stopped. It is hard to say how fast it happened without it sounding like a story. The death rate in the first clinic fell from those terrible spring figures, nearly 1 in 5, down to less than 1 in 500. Below the midwives, below anything the hospital had ever recorded. He had not only found the cause, he had found the cure, and it cost no more than a little chlorine and a few minutes at a basin. He should have been the most celebrated physician in Europe. He was not. You have to understand what he was really saying underneath the numbers. He was telling the most respected doctors in the world that their own clean, gentle, healing hands had been killing their patients for years. That every mother who had died on their ward had died because of them. No one wanted to hear it. The germ that would one day prove him right was still 20 years from being understood. So to his colleagues, there was no mechanism, no reason, only an unpleasant younger man making an unforgivable accusation. They were offended, and offended men with power do not change their ways. They argued with him. They dismissed his results. They let the basins go dry. Semmelweis was pushed out of the hospital, and the women, of course, began to die again. It broke him. He spent the rest of his life trying to make them listen, and the more they refused, the more desperate and bitter he became. He wrote furious open letters calling them murderers, which was true, and which did not help his case. His behavior grew stranger and angrier. His mind began to fail, whether from grief or some illness in the brain, or simply the unbearable weight of being right while women kept dying. No one can say for certain. In 1865, he was committed to an asylum. The accounts of his last days are dark, and they do not fully agree with one another. What is known is that within about 2 weeks of being admitted, Ignaz Semmelweis was dead, at 47, of an infection in the blood, a sepsis. The very same kind of dying he had spent his entire life trying to prevent. The savior of mothers, taken by the thing he had conquered, in a room where no one was listening. He was right. That is the part that should stay with you, if anything does. He was completely, provably right, and it did not save him. It was only years later, when Pasteur and Lister and the rest finally showed the world the invisible life that rides on unwashed hands, that medicine quietly admitted the difficult man in Vienna had seen it first. Anyone who has ever worked in a hospital lives inside his ghost now. The very first thing you are taught, the thing you do 10,000 times a shift without a single thought, before every patient and after every patient, is wash your hands. We do not even question it. It is as automatic as breathing. And every single time, whether we remember him or not, we are doing the thing a stubborn, broken man screamed himself to death, trying to make us believe. So tonight, when you wash your hands before bed, in warm water, with no fear at all that anything could be wrong, spare a thought for the mothers of Vienna who were not so lucky, and for the unloved doctor who saw what no one else could see, and was punished for it, and was right all along. The basins are full now, the hands are clean, And somewhere out there, a great many mothers who will never know his name went home with their children because of him. Rest easy. I'll see you in the small hours.